we have Ivan. Ivan, director and co-founder at VIVOS, specializing in setting up businesses in Singapore. Ivan has helped 1,000+ European entrepreneurs like yours to kickstart their journey in Singapore and scale it up across Asia. So thank you, Ivan, again for joining us today. And let's begin.
My next question is to you, Ivan. Let's talk about market entry. Many companies compare global hubs like Singapore, Dubai, and Hong Kong when deciding to establish a regional base. From your experience, Ivan, what makes Singapore the preferred choice for European businesses? And how does it stand out compared to these other hubs?
Yeah, it's a great question, Harpreet. The perennial question everyone's been asking for the last 15 years I've been in this region, and the answer keeps evolving, but Singapore's always been up there in the mix. Of course, what's the purpose of coming to Singapore, coming to this region? You're trying to tap into the opportunities and the fast-growing markets that exist in this part of the world. If you're looking and if you're focused on Asia, then obviously I think that Singapore has an edge over Dubai. Dubai is a great market entry, great vehicle for Gulf Cooperation Council economies, but it has obviously some disadvantages in terms of ease of business, trust, reputation, and talent base compared to Singapore. Singapore versus Hong Kong, obviously both are very strong leading financial centers, offshore centers, trading hubs in Asia. But certainly over the years, we've seen that Hong Kong's proposition has evolved more towards a greater China focus, whereas Singapore has been more ASEAN and Asia Pacific and even global South, international, the whole world. So Singapore has positioned itself really well. Very strong ease of business in terms of number 2 in the world, and they've consistently worked at keeping it the easiest place in the world to do business. Very attractive taxes, great talent base, and just a whole hub of resources and support that you'd need to grow your business in Asia.
Thank you, Ivan. That's really insightful. Singapore clearly offers many strategic advantages. Now, once the decision is made to set up operations in Singapore, though many businesses still face challenges, Ivan, what are some of the key pain points European businesses typically encounter when entering the Singapore market? Also, how can they overcome these hurdles?
So the good news is that all of these hurdles have been overcome very successfully by those 14,000 European companies that are thriving in Singapore that Bhargavi mentioned at the beginning. But certainly, it's a new culture, it's a new regulatory environment, it's a new set of regulations and rules. But really, I think many of our clients find that, with a little bit of adaptation, some advice and support from their partners, that they find that the rules, the tax setup, for example, the employment rules, the social security rules are all very simple, particularly much more flexible, much more easy to understand than they are in many European markets. But they are different, and how you operate here has to adjust. I think the hardest thing that most people adjust to is just adjusting to the different culture, the different business practices, getting used to how business is done here, how relationships are built over time. Many people have questions around how they can re-domicile assets or intellectual property and how to navigate through that process. But there's a lot of experts in Singapore who understand how to do this well, and there's many that have beaten that path before and thrived and grown their businesses here.
Absolutely. Understanding and overcoming these initial hurdles can set a tone for long-term success. And with you corporate service providers by their side, I think they do good. Next question to you, Ivan, is one challenge business often faces managing immigration and visas for their employees. Is it easy for European businesses to navigate the visa process for their employees in Singapore? What should they keep in mind during this process?
It's no doubt that this is an area that many of our clients are a little bit nervous about coming in. They have their key people, their key talent, that they want to bring into the market to help capitalize on the opportunity, and they're uncertain around how they can do that. I think over the last couple of years, Singapore has clarified the situation. We've had a points-based system for the employment pass introduced. I find that working with clients now, it's much simpler, it's much clearer who can come and what's required to get that employment pass approved, to bring in your managers, your key talent, your corporate staff. And the government is a very commercial perspective on all of this. And for people who are interested in bringing investment and business to Singapore, then there's generally a pretty welcoming approach compared to many markets globally. But I would advise that it's good to get the advice of an expert and a specialist to help you through how to make that process as smooth and as easy as possible. But many of our clients find that the process is quite painless once they've completed it.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. That gives us a clear picture of what businesses should consider regarding immigration. Ivan, my next question is to you. Singapore's pro-business environment supports both large companies and smaller startups. How does Singapore support smaller companies, particularly in terms of grants, incentives, or tax breaks? And how can European startups take advantage of these opportunities?
I think one thing that's really positive about the Singapore ecosystem and the Singapore government embrace of trade and business is that they treat all companies that are incorporated in Singapore essentially the same. If you're incorporated in Singapore, you are a Singaporean company, and they will vouch for you, they will support you, they will weigh in to help you grow and expand in the region. They are eager for all businesses that come to Singapore to grow into the region and to expand. So they have teams on the ground in those markets which will help you with market expansion. There are grants and programs that you can tap into to assist with that. But it's their knowledge, it's their reputation and their connections that are often the most valuable, as well as the fact that the Singapore government is there, their officers, their talent, their scholars are there across the region, advocating for us Singapore companies if there's any issues in the region, and this can be a little bit more of a complicated place to do business. So that stands us a great stead that we have the brand and the strength of the Singapore government behind us all. And from small points to big points in terms of tax incentives for new companies, Singapore is certainly a very pro-business place. You'll find that the environment is somewhat different to many of the European countries, and that shows itself up in terms of how the government interacts with the companies, as well as the incentives and the grants and the programs. But I think the most meaningful part, the most impactful part, is the way that the government weighs in to support and help. And anyone who's trying to grow their business will find that they get ample support.
That's excellent, Ivan. Leveraging these opportunities can give startups a competitive edge. Also, we can easily say that Singapore government has their backs at all times. The European businesses backs will got it. Scaling up a startup is a challenge, especially in a foreign market. After incorporating a company in Singapore, what should startups focus on in terms of scaling and building a local presence? How can European startups leverage Singapore's vibrant startup ecosystem to fuel their growth?
Yeah, great question. I think there's a couple of important factors. Talent is always so important in scaling and growing, and so spending the time and energy to build those relationships, to get to know people, to take advantage of the great talent in this part of the world, I think is a really important part of that. There is a really strong ecosystem of startups in Singapore, particularly a lot of asset management, a lot of wealth, a lot of family offices that are investing in startups. So it's a great place to fundraise. But Singapore, at the end of the day, can be a relatively small end market for startups. So startups will also very quickly in Singapore look to the region and look to scale, as the other my colleagues have shared on the call. So it's also important, I think, to try to get to know the opportunities in the rest of the region and to kind of understand how you'll have to customize and adapt to that. The great strength, though, of the Singapore brand is that people come here because once you're inside Singapore, once you're been able to access and you're using the Singapore platform, people know that with the regulations and with the rule of law here and with the requirements, that you will be trustworthy and that you'll be a reliable partner for that growth. So startups, I think, will find that that's a good investment as they try to grow, to branch out. Many of the strongest, fastest growing startups, technology companies in this part of the world have based themselves in Singapore for that reason, to be trusted. Also have a valuable location for their investments. So they'll be investing overseas, they'll be overseas, and they're looking for that support. So I think that those are really valuable tools. So I think you'll find that the energy is great here, the networks, the incubators, the accelerators, a lot of international companies are here. Startups are already here and growing their businesses. And I personally love working in that space, the energy and the excitement. You know, we have markets here where every idea is new. We have hundreds of millions of new consumers, new middle class customers coming in and eager for solutions. So I love that opportunity, and I love that the potential in that space, and watching how rapidly many of the companies scale here.